We'll be organizing this on the next Sunday also for like, this will continue for 2 more Sundays, I guess, or maybe for another 3 more Sundays. So yeah, kindly do join in by the time also. And yeah, let's wait together for our last speaker to join in. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in this, making this conference complete. Sorry. Oh, she say yellow flowers, sorry, I thought.
Hello.
Hi, Clarissa. Yeah, am I audible to you?
Yes, you're audible. Am I audible? Is it clear?
Yes, very much. Thank you so much for joining in, and also, yeah, thank you for accepting our invitation on this. So I would like to just give a brief intro about you to everyone present here. Yeah, our speaker Clarissa Giri is also from Meghalaya. She's doing she is a research scholar in anthropology department at Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. So we are very eager to hear from you also regarding this hot topic. So what are your views on this? Yeah, you can kindly proceed with it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. I was surprised to get the invitation, but I gladly accepted, and I learned so much from Sir Yumnam and Dr. Mauro, and I think they have said the bulk of it. So I will just continue with what I have prepared. It's just very basic information. And I started this, I would just like to explain that I became interested in this, the palm oil issue, because as a scholar, I think we all have a responsibility as research scholars to vouch for the people. And since I study about culture and my main focus is on religion, the Khasi tribal religion, and I believe that environment plays a very important role in the tribal religion of the people. And so with this palm oil initiative, that is also threatened. So I'll just begin. Basically, palm oil has been used since the 1990s in processed food industries due to its low cost and high yield. Palm oil is pressed from the fleshy fruit of the oil palm tree. Its scientific name is Ileus zidjaniensis, a species native to Africa and also thrives elsewhere in tropic humid climates. The fruit of the tree is harvested for its oil. The flesh of the fruit is pressed for oil, for food production purposes, and the core of the fruit is pressed separately and mainly used for soaps, biofuel, and other industrial purposes, as well as in processed food. We see now that India has a lot of processed food. I don't think that any one of us is free from it, be it our beloved noodles that we eat, that we like to eat, and especially for the youth and myself, we are really entranced by this ASMR culture. So yes, so junk food is in India is really packed with palm oil, and it comes in different names. It doesn't just say palm oil right at the at the start, and you just have to really do a lot of research to be able to differentiate the thing. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Please forgive me.
Yeah, it's totally all right.
Okay. The health benefits or drawbacks of the oil is, it's been long debated. We don't really know whether it's good or it's bad. But the bad side of the oil, for human health, has been really prominently displayed all across, various platforms, various articles and so on, but also the health benefits. So I'm not sure whether it's good or bad, so I won't comment on that. But what is sure is that it affects, it is the major driver of deforestation. It affects some of the world's most biodiverse ecosystems, severely degrading the environment and depleting carbon sinks of the world. That has led to catastrophic impacts on forests, endangered animals, and a major contributor to climate change. Northeast is part of 2 biodiversity hotspots, as Sir Yumnam has stressed upon, and I would like to just clarify what a biodiversity hotspot is. Areas that are both rich with life and at high risk for destruction. This definition means that the majority of plants that exist in biodiversity hotspots are endemic. That is, they do not exist anywhere else on Earth and whose very existence is at risk. National Geographic states that to be classified as a biodiversity hotspot, a region must have lost at least 70% of its original natural vegetation, usually due to human activity. According to the Meghalaya Biodiversity Board's website, and anybody can go here and see this, it right off the bat says that the state, Meghalaya, also represents an important part of the Indo-Burma Biodiversity Hotspot, which is one of the 4 biodiversity hotspots present in India and 34 in the world. The state of Meghalaya has been identified as a key area for biodiversity conservation due to its high species diversity and high level of endemism. And furthermore, the Meghalaya Forest and Environment Department further states that in its website that the forests are also home to rare and endemic species of plants and animals. The undisturbed primary forests are botanically well known and extraordinarily rich. Forests of the state shelters more than 3,500 flowering plants, 352 orchids, 40 bamboo species, and about 800 medicinal plant resources. The state is part of the Indo-Burma Biodiversity Hotspot of the world, and about 40 endemic plant species and 75 threatened plant species are found in Meghalaya. Among its rare species, the insect-eating pitcher plant, the wild citrus, the pygmy lily, the rhododendron forests at Shillong Peak, which is a major attraction for tourists during its blooming period. So these 2 statements are found in government websites, and so it poses a question as to why it took so long for our Forest and Environment Minister to speak out about it. He spoke out about it only when protests rose, when people started to speak up. It's as though he's trying to cover something up. So I won't get too deep into that. We all know the news. We have all seen and read what has happened. And so let's talk about a monoculture and what it really is. Monoculture, it, in simple terms, eliminates all other species except one. It displaces the naturally occurring species. The complexity lies in what goes on in supporting the monoculture. A super complex of pesticides, fertilizers, and machinery that the farmers have to invest in is required to uphold the monoculture. A rich diversity of plant, insect, and animal life is key in creating an ecosystem where food can grow and flourish without the addition of synthetic chemical pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers. But the promise of biodiversity is being continually threatened by the dangers of monoculture, and we see that in today's agriculture industries. In Shillong, when the introduction of the idea of oil palm plantation in Meghalaya came about, it sparked a lot of debate among town dwellers who say that oil palm will bring jobs to the job-deprived citizens of the state. It will bring revenue. The oil prices are already so high. So why do we need? Why shouldn't we need biofuel? From the palm oil. What's a little more land? Those are the things that I have personally experienced in conversation with people. So we already have Kwai monoculture. Kwai is the areca nut monoculture. Plantations, like Dr. Mauro explained, it's not actually a monoculture because we grow pineapples and jackfruit and all that. But so firstly, we cannot be so naive to believe that palm oil is going to solve the job issues and the job scarcity anywhere, anytime soon. Secondly, revenue, it will generate revenue, but revenue into whose pockets? Like what Dr. Mauro has already mentioned, it's not distributed. It's like it's a focused kind of revenue, which focuses the cash into certain pockets only, because farmers won't be signing memorandums, or they will just, whatever they have to do, they'll have to do with what the company at the ground level tells them, and without awareness, they'll believe that easily. And regarding biofuel, we cannot just believe to get biofuel within a week or a month or even a year from palm oil. So it's all these questions are a bit unrealistic. But it's a long process. So let's go into the plantation question of areca nut. Areca nut, rubber, cashew, tea, and such. In a 2021 study conducted by Gaurav Mishra, Abhishek Sarkar, Krishna Giri, Arun Jyoti Nath, Ratan Lal, and Rosa Francavilla, titled Changes in Soil Carbon Stocks Under Plantation Systems and Natural Forests in Northeast India, which was published in Ecological Modeling Journal, volume 446, was conducted in West Garo Hills district in Meghalaya. To evaluate the impact of plantations of rubber tree, tea, areca nut, cashew nut, and pineapple on SOC. SOC is soil organic carbon. SOC stocks in comparison, they compared it with the SOC of a natural forest. They found that with increase in age of plantation, this is directly quoted from their paper, at 40 years, the SOC stocks decreased to 50.3 milligrams of carbon per hectare in areca nut, decreased, and at the average rate of 0.58 carbon per hectare per year. 0.58 milligrams of carbon per hectare per year. This corresponds to a SOC stock loss of about 32% from areca nut compared to the initial SOC stock under forest, which is 73.6 milligrams of carbon per hectare. This means that a decrease in SOC, a decrease in soil organic carbon, means that the carbon is transpiring into the atmosphere, adding to the atmospheric carbon, which we all know is a greenhouse gas and a main cause of global warming. So monocultures also exhaust the soil of its nutrients, microorganisms, carbon, and where there are no longer any organisms to decompose soil organic matter and bind soil particles, the soil structure is damaged easily by rain, wind, and sun. This can lead to rainwater runoff, soil erosion, and decrease in its carbon entrapment capabilities. Why do I talk about carbon entrapment? Because forests, we know, are called carbon sinks. And we know that people are saying that why can't we use marshlands or peatlands or reclaim wastelands? The reason is that even compared to vegetation and atmospheric carbon combined, the soil holds more carbon compared to those. And if the soil is disrupted, if the soil is not strong enough, then more carbon is released into the atmosphere, thereby increasing more greenhouse gases, and the cycle repeats. So there's more, like I said, there's more organic carbon in the soil than there is in vegetation and atmospheric carbon combined. And it also goes against the SDG 12, like Dr. Mauro talked about this about it's not coming to me, responsible and sustainable usage of land and whatnot. Okay, so this goes against that because it's not responsible in the sense that during the last few decades, scientific research has found that an increase in soil carbon is a strategy to mitigate climate change and improve soil health. But SOC stocks decreased following conversion of forests to other land uses and unsustainable soil management, such as conventional tillage, crop residue removing, and in-field burning, monocultures, input of agrochemicals, and reduced addition of exogenous organic matter. So to the question of pre-existing monocultures and plantations, this is another reason why protecting and restoring natural forests and or mixed stands of native tree species might reduce the risk of loss of biodiversity and be a viable option for sustainable land management in Northeast India. We are in Shillong, we have, in a couple of days, we have experienced scorching heat. And for a place like Shillong, it has, it has been occurring and it has kept on getting worse by the year. We are experiencing harsh and erratic weather conditions on a daily basis. Shillong used to be called, Scotland of the East, maybe because it rained a lot, but the rainfall has been quite erratic. It's not constant, even during the monsoons. Sometimes we get rainfall that is so heavy, and that really disturbs. You know how heavy rainfall destroys plants and flora and all that. And so, like, these cloudbursts are occurring quite frequently, and evidence also suggests that rising temperatures and reduced air quality are harmful to mental health. So if we go along on this road, it will lead to the increase in the warmth. It will increase in these more erratic weather conditions and climate changes, which is also harmful to mental health. When it's too hot, sometimes you feel like you're going to go crazy. That's a saying, it's so hot, it's driving me crazy. But there's actually studies in 2016, the US Global Change Research Program found that evidence that extreme weather events have also been associated with increase in aggressive behavior. And lately we've seen a lot of aggressive behavior from people. And there's this political unrest, there's these border issues, and it's, I wonder if all that also has something to do with climate change. So we know that it poses a threat to food production and quality. It's been said by Dr. Meerol, and disease transmitted by insects, Lyme disease, malaria, all of these can be increased by that. And then palm oil production also has potential to devastate our rivers and other water systems. Groundwater, the process to produce palm oil requires a significant amount of chemical input, like I mentioned earlier, which if not treated appropriately will increase pollution and especially water pollution. Furthermore, the waste produced from processing palm oil poses a huge problem because for every 100 tons of oil palm fruit that gets processed, 22 tons of crude oil palm is produced, but 67 tons of waste remain. This waste is known as POME, or palm oil mill effluent, and consists of palm kernels and husks as well as branches and wastewater. The raw pome is a brownish colloidal suspension comprising of 95 to 96% water, 0.6 to 0.7% oil and grease, and as well as 4 to 5% solids. It is hot, it is acidic, and contains high organic matters as indicated by its BOD, which is biochemical oxygen demand, which is 100 times as polluting as domestic sewage. So when the untreated pome is discharged directly into the river, natural decomposition will take place, in which this oxygen will be dissolved in the river water. This oxygen dissolved in the river water will be depleted rapidly. This causes the destruction of aquatic life and natural ecosystems. So there are several systems that have been proposed to treat POME. REGEN is a system that's called integrated system, which comprises of various technologies to convert all solid and liquid biomass in palm oil mill into valuable products. And this system involves various steps like membrane treatment, evaporation, coagulation, flocculation, anaerobic treatment, and aerobic treatment. And so it is a new system which has been devised, but it might cost a lot to invest in this, and I am wondering whether the government will be willing to invest in long-term, to make a long-term investment towards this, to treat waste from, to treat this palm oil mill effluent. So that is one aspect, and I would like to touch upon the aspect of identity and culture, because when biodiversity is threatened, so is the culture and identity of a people. Indigenous people are people of the land. We know that, and this goes for people of the whole of Northeast. We live off the land and are the main stewards of cultural and biological diversity in our small part of the world, at least. While some of us still know our way through our forests, I see my friends, my Naga friends, Manipuri friends, my Mizo friends, there are these forests nearby, and it's called Motinagar Forest. I don't know if people in Shillong, if some of you have been in Shillong, but they go there and they come back with a basket full of all these edibles that I don't even know of, and I have never seen in my life, I've never tasted in my life. So some of us still know our way through our forests, but with regard to Meghalaya and the Khasi community, much is lost in translation when it comes to actually knowing the culture of our forests. We love telling people about our traditions. We love telling people about the famous matrilineal system, which has so many unsaid and unspoken layers to it. Our folk tales, in which we tend to see only as mere fables told long ago, yet we fail to see the truth in them. The stories of origin. We were made. We came down from they call this navel, the navel that connects earth and God. We came down from the Loams of Edbenham. It's a mountain, not a mountain, a hill, where till date many various religious acts and activities take place there. It was severed because of man's greed, because of we didn't look after our environment properly, because we were put here, it is believed, to be stewards, like I said, of our environment, to take care of it, to tend to it, to work for our, to be able to go back into the ancestral realm. We have to work honestly for our surroundings as well. But all that is lost in translation. I'm talking about all this because, like every indigenous community, we are a people of the land again, but it has become increasingly difficult by the day to picture the local Shillong dweller as a forager. I cannot picture myself as going to a forest and picking plants that, oh, this one is edible for me, I'm going to pick this and tell my mom to cook, or I'll cook for my family. No, I cannot imagine Shillong dwellers doing that anymore. We do not forage in the town anymore. We may have our gardens and farms and most, but we honestly have lost touch with nature. And so we get cases over the years, for example, of entire families dying from consuming the wrong kind of mushroom that they foraged from the forest. So with that said, the average town dweller at most is capable of enjoying a trip to the outskirts where the air feels cleaner and connection to nature feels stronger. We do not know what actually lives in our forests, what is consumable and what is not, and how they can help us or kill us. townspeople are educated and aware of the situation of oil palm, but they have varied opinions on it. Some say that it's not a bad thing. Some say that no, we cannot allow this. But it just remains in, as kitchen talk or talks over drinks or something like that. But, the people who are still in tune, the weight of the reality is that the people who are still in tune with the environment, the ones that still live off the land are so many in number, the ones just outside Shillong. And the rural farmers, the traditional artisans, traditional healers mostly, they are not aware of the danger. So what I want to do is that I really want each and every one of us, because it's the responsibility of each and every one of us to make them aware, to make each other aware, because they are the ones who contribute the least to climate change because of their sustainable lifestyle. But they are the ones who have been the most heavily impacted, especially if not made aware of the dangers of introducing a foreign species into their environment at a large scale. So thus, it is imperative that we make our farmers aware and actively engaged with issues that will impact the biodiversity and be part of negotiations and the decision-making process. But, for us to just silently allow another monoculture, another foreign multinational company to just take away that land and, give a false hope that it still belongs to the farmers, because like we've seen in Manipur, it does not work. Some farmers say that they could not grow their seeds, and the government is saying that no, because the farmers don't listen to us. But everything is, there are so many obstacles, so many issues into play, so many things that we have to talk about. But things are lost in translation because farmers, I don't think, are made part of the discussion. They're not made aware. They simply accept. They say, okay, yes, we'll go for training. We'll do this, we'll do that. We'll invest. And then end up being the ones who incur the most losses. And so, like I said, for us to just silently allow another monoculture that will strip the land of its forest is the last nail on the coffin. And I'm speaking for everyone in Northeast, and especially for the people, for my Khasi community. And if we allow this to happen, then we have lost the right to call ourselves an indigenous people. We have lost the right to call ourselves Khasi people. So and so to conclude, I would like to highlight that the Prime Minister in August 15 said that every part of India should be developed, and that when he proposed the palm oil initiative, and he included Northeast. But the rude awakening to this downside of his train of thought is the flood of illusions about the development and modernity that has been imposed on a people from an arbitrary place of power beyond cultural reach of their society. Development must not occur according to the cultural. Development must occur according to the cultural ethics and understanding of a society. It must be allowed to grow from within the people, and and not come from a place that is ignorant of the mechanics of the culture it impacts. But this kind of utopia does not exist. However, that. We know our indigenous history. We know how to develop ourselves. It does not exist. That's why there's also an urgent need for innovation. There are so many problems that are tied into this as well. It's not just palm oil, but the lack of the loss of indigenous knowledge, the quality of education, the quality of creativity, the innovation, it's not there. So with my initiative, with this, with starting that campaign for palm oil to save our forests, I want to just wake the people up, because this is not a one-man job. It's not just some people talking about it. It's each and every person taking responsibility each and every day, even in the smallest steps. So with that, I conclude. I don't have much, technical aspects to it, but from an anthropological aspect, I tried my best. Thank you for.
No, no. I would rather say that the way how you have, it's very sort of touching. And then, to whosoever is participating now and listening to you would be, like thinking about it, like how, important it is to, protect our, indigenous land and, or, our habitat and all that. Because it seriously has an impact on me, the way you have addressed it. So yeah, and also, most of the time, such discussions regarding, like all this, palm oil plantations and other policies and, development programs and all, it always, remains within the, people who are already aware of it, like in academics and all that. But the most important thing is to reach out to the people who are, who actually will be affected by it. So yeah, like you rightly mentioned, we should be more focused on making the people aware, those people who are actually going to be affected by that particular sort of maybe palm oil plantation or development program whatsoever. So yeah, and I totally agree with you. And some questions are waiting for you. So yeah, by the colonial indigenous memes, would you say that propagating of monoculture cash crop cultivation is inherently anti-indigenous? Could you elaborate on how such oil palm cultivation projects can affect the indigenous knowledge system? Do you want me to repeat it?
No, thank you. I heard it. I think yes. Monoculture is against indigenous philosophy, because it is on Earth. It is not natural to see monoculture. In nature, we don't see there's a corn monoculture over there just naturally since time immemorial, since ancient times. No, we don't see that. It's a mixture of different species, and nature does not put all its eggs in one basket, so to say. This is very dangerous, because with monoculture, pest population increases because there's an abundance of food. So pests really thrive in such situations, and so with the thriving of pests leads to the diseases of the crop. And monoculture means the plants do not rotate. And we know that rotation of plants helps the soil to heal. It helps the soil to regain its nutrients. And with the monoculture, there's only one type of crop, and they keep on, and every crop keeps taking the same nutrients from the soil, and it depletes the soil completely of those nutrients. And then to replenish that, if they don't slash the whole area and move on to another forest, it incurs a lot of chemical input, artificial chemical input, right? And sometimes it is just easier to cut down the area where the soil is no longer beneficial for the crop, and then move on to the next area. And the best is forest cover. So in the long run, I feel that will occur. The sustained investment of proper treatment of soil effluents, or proper balance of chemical input, and all that will not really be conducive to the profit aspect of industry, if we have to view it in that way. And so monoculture, to say, is not natural, and it is definitely not indigenous. Indigenous culture is culture of the land, so old that it comes from the forest. In Khasi traditional religion, the Nyam Khasi and Nyam Tre, they say it is animistic. It is based on animism, and it comes from the forest. We have forest deities, we have river deities, we have thunder, the king of thunder. We have so many things coming into play. And so, yeah, to answer that question, if monoculture is indigenous. No, it is not, and it absolutely goes against indigenous philosophy.
Thank you. Here is again one more question by Cecil Tanazum. What are some of the cultural and traditional practices that could be in danger because of oil palm?
Traditional practices. Okay. So this is, I'm just going to give an example from my research area. My research area is in West Jaintia Hills, and it's called Nangba. And I study about these religious practices, the rites that they perform. So now we have, let's say, death rites. Death rites occur with keeping in mind that this person goes into the next realm. And okay, let's just fast forward to the part where they make the funeral pyre. The funeral pyre, the cremation site where they burn the body, is made from this specific kind of pine. It's called a khasi pine. It's called ding sning in Khasi, ding sning. So this is an indigenous species. So we'll just look into that perspective, and suppose if this particular tree, this particular pine is endangered, with time people will not be able to use this ding sning for the cremation purposes. They believe that this particular tree has been given by the gods, and it is the only way that will cleanse a body and allow the soul to go on to the next life. So if an aspect of that tradition shifts, then it will create a lot of chaos in the belief system. People, don't even use these crematoriums, because they believe that people, with the use of crematoriums, the soul still roams the earth, and more people die. That's why they have to follow the specific instructions of the gods. So that is one example of how an endangerment to a species can topple the whole belief system. Yeah.
Thank you so much. There is also one more question. Oh, I think it's more of a comment or something. Palm cultivation is permanently deforestation. Jum cultivation is a temporary deforestation. It gets forested in due of time. Mizoram adopts jum cultivation but has the largest forest cover. So yeah, I quite agree to this. So
yes, jum cultivation is not entirely bad. They portray it as bad because fire burning and slash and burn shift. But it is found that jum cultivation sometimes actually helps the soil to heal after being depleted from a certain crop. It helps the soil to heal. It helps regain that biome, that system of microorganisms and stuff like that.
True. And here is one more question. Is there a lack of strong political presence among farmers of the Northeast states in general? If so, could it be one hurdle in further discussions on the dangers of palm oil monoculture?
Can you repeat the question?
So, is there a lack of strong political presence among farmers of the Northeast states in general? If so, could it be one hurdle in further discussions on the dangers of palm oil monoculture?
I believe so. I believe so, because when we remember when a couple of months back in the Haryana, Punjab, there was a huge farmers' protest against those 3 ordinances of the government, which tried to make an open market for farming. With the open markets, farmers get exploited costs, and especially on by these big companies. So I don't know how far that impacts the Northeast. And yeah, I don't know how far that impacts the Northeast, but I didn't see any protest here of any such degree. So I think there is very much a lack of, not, if we don't say political, if we don't use the word political, but there's a lack of representation from the farmers, mostly because farmers are, I don't think they know much about the law. They don't know much about what's going on. So they really get, they really get, what to say, exploited. When, like, for Shillongites, we know this Yodo, okay, like the ultimate market where people come, where farmers sell their goods to wholesalers and all that. And during that time, there's I've heard many complaints that these wholesalers they really exploit farmers. They exploit the price and all that. So most of them sit on the roadsides selling their own produce. It's a really sad sight for them because they have to come from a long way to sell their goods and then go back late in the night. Sometimes they have to just sell them, just so that they don't perish, because vegetables are perishable items. So I think there is like, for them, nobody speaks for them. They're all alone. I feel like there is a lack of representation and a lack of persistent representations. Maybe they come up now and again, okay, some news pops up here and there, but then the persistent representation, I think it's an issue that we all need to address. I don't know about the rest of Northeast, but in Meghalaya, I feel it is.
Yeah, it's quite agreeable. Even to look at in Manipur scenario, I do have the same opinion regarding that. But also, I mean, when we talk about farmers' exploitation, it is a very common thing. Also, regarding the lack of knowledge and also the kind of education system that we have over here, which is mostly concentrated in the city area, like the availability of all these informations and all that in the village areas and all that. I think it also contributes to that. And also, if we look at other states scenario, there is this whole what to say, organizations, or coming together of farmers forming proper associations to address their issues and problems. But when it comes to our places, I think that is very much lacking. Each and every farmer is doing their own work, and then it's like yeah, more or less, it's on that basis. So the mode of regulations, to form, even if they want to, put up questions or, any sort of to the government, the mode of this one, I don't know how to, reach to the government or the, people concerns. Yeah, so it's that where it is lacking, I feel that. And it's not that the farmers don't realize, what is happening to them. They do, feel it, but, how to really voice up, and how to, make it even reach to the, people concerned. That's quite problematic in our place, I think.
That's true, yes.
And here is one question. Oh, well, okay. It's... yeah, the video will be, saved on Instagram, this live. Okay. So, is there any other questions? If anyone would, want to ask. Also, regarding your area of concern of your research, where you talk about religion, I am, quite keen to understand how Probably, like you have already, mentioned it quite, beautifully when you were mentioning about how this oil palm cultivation might affect, the culture and traditional practices. And of course, like religion comes to that. But, to be, a little specific and, particular, concerning, the particular, religion that you are talking about, I would like to know how it is, actually going to have an impact on, that.
Like in particular, how it will have an impact on the belief system or on the religion?
It's like,
I mean, on the culture?
see,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, religion is part of the culture, right? So, I mean,
Yes,
like
yes.
in general, if we are talking about, culture, then, we can really talk about so many things, like even marriage practice or whatever. But just to be specific, well, when you are referring to religion, like, how, it is going to affect, the religion, so I already assumed that, given, the kind of this one, it would be more or less, under the minority category, if that religion, the one that you are talking about is to be referred, so how is it really, like more or less how it might, go to, it being even, the practice being even extinct from the community, like on that basis, if it's possible, like
Yes, yes.
highlight a little more.
Yes. So the trend is that culture is dynamic. It will change with the changing times. But like from what I've seen, what I've noticed is that people will offer food. Suppose just an example, people offer food to let's see how palm oil has entered into the religious system. People offer food to their ancestors in the form of gourds. Gourds like we call uklong. It's
Mhm.
it's very holy. It's uklong. It's very holy. You know this. Those. What do I say? How do I? They're like containers made from squash. Those long neck squash with round bottom. Have you seen those type of vegetable squash? A squash vegetable. I think it's with a long neck. Yes. So the way they make that is they turn that into a bottle. So the casing, and so that is considered very holy. Okay, because inside they keep libation. Libation is alcohol used for religious purposes and to give to appease the ancestors. It's poured a little bit here and there, and it's poured on clances because in Khasi culture we have in Khasi traditional religion, the folk religion, they have clances where it's like a stone structure inside which the bones of every deceased clan member is kept. So this klong is the libation from this klong is also poured on top of the clances along with food, traditional food like what do they say? These rice patties or rice buns. You can say rice buns. Various types of rice buns are made: sweet ones, salty ones, and the plain ones. And so they're with some rice or whatever they cook. Like it's kind of a biryani type of rice. They call it jado. It's made with some chicken or with pig's blood or whatever. So they keep it in a basket and offer it. So what I noticed is that in that basket, certain items like these Bangladeshi noodles, rampam, and then these mimi, YY. All of these things have also been included in that gift basket for the ancestors. So palm oil has entered the cultural practices of the people as well, because these noodles are fried in palm oil. So Okay, that is
It's
one
kind of,
aspect, that it has entered.
okay.
Yeah, you were saying?
I mean, it's kind of replacing, the food or whatever items that's been using and it's been practiced for ages, with the intervention or of this. So if this particular mode of cultivation is to happen, then we could expect it to overall maybe assimilate the whole thing, and also even and I mean that sort of things, that's what you are referring to, right?
Yes, and assimilation, yes, and an assimilation into the culture of the people. Yes, and then, like I said, palm oil, and with these erratic temperatures and climate change, it so happened that when I was investigating this traditional practice and event that they call the Kenyalangdok Festival, which is in an agricultural festival held every year in April to the gods, so that they'll have a fruitful harvest, so that the whatever they plant will not go to waste but will flourish and all that, you understand. And so in this practice, there's a point where the men, but not the women, that's a whole entire conversation, where the men get to go into the sacred grove. There's a sacred grove in the place that I'm researching. The men get to go into the sacred grove, men, boys, all males, carrying a lot of chickens inside these bamboo baskets for sacrifice. So they believe that after the sacrifice of all of these chickens, the blood is washed away by rain. It has to be washed away by rain, because it symbolizes, it symbolizes that the gods have washed away the sins of man. Because the chicken, that's another conversation. The chicken, usyar, we say, is the one who has been sent to carry the sins of man, to lead man, to lead not man, but to lead human beings. I wouldn't say man, but to lead human beings into the realm of the gods after they die. So it only happens if their sins are cleansed. So on that particular day, I remember there was a cloudburst event that happened in the region. It rained for around 4 hours, I think. 4 hours, heavily, non-stop. I myself got really scared. And and since I could not enter the grove, because obviously women were not allowed, I just had to wait it out with the other women. And then there was talk that, oh, this is because the gods are angry at us. We did something wrong. And, the days that come after that, they actually prayed and asked what was going on, what's wrong. So the reason I mentioned this is that with erratic conditions, climatic conditions, weather conditions, sometimes, it will rain like a cloudburst, and sometimes it might not rain at all. And in those cases, people will interpret things differently. So I don't know if it will actually be a form of endangerment to that particular belief system. I mean, to that particular ritual, but it might give them false results. I mean, in lieu of interpretation. And then again, I mentioned to you about the death rites, and then in this particular event, there's this kind of they say there's okay, there's this event that women there's this kind of structure that's constructed from the same pine, the dingsning. It's like a very large seesaw. A very large seesaw. I wish I could show you the picture. It's a very large seesaw, and women, they just clamber onto each end of it, and then they get spun around. It looks very dangerous, but they have such balance. I do not know what kind of balance they have, and they are so fit. I mean, the age of 40, 50, women are still clambering on top of that. beam and spinning round and round. And it's believed that it's a sign of purity, of being blameless and sinless. So let's not get into the gender aspect of what it means, but the usage of that material, that certain material, that ding sning. And suppose, there's a lack of this ding sning, but they will keep on using it, they'll keep on using it. Suppose there's a palm oil plantation, and then somewhere near that vicinity, they cut out all these kasi pine and make a plantation over there. But people will still continue their ritual. So when they continue the ritual, they'll keep on cutting this kasi pine until there's no more kasi pine to cut. It will reach a point where they might have to use a different kind of, tree. But the symbolic aspect of it is lost. So in those kind of situations, it poses a question whether, religion is actually the original religion that has been taught by the gods or something else. Yeah, so I think, I hope you're satisfied.
No, thank you so much. I got it. So here's one question. So by Denita Chungkam, what would be the best way to make the farmers aware that palm oil plantation is a disastrous initiative taken by the government? Please give me your thoughts on it.
Okay, so considering the first step, I believe, is to spread awareness through a vernacular newspaper. Because I think in the rural areas, especially, they grab the vernacular paper. Secondly, you can go to their different villages. We have to put in the effort. We go to the villages and we maybe organize a talk on this, and gather farmers and among the headman and all that. That is another way we can do it. I don't think that just talking it out in academic platforms or just writing academic papers will actually benefit them or will do anything for them. Yeah, so certain papers also do not reach rural areas. I know that for a fact. People will not travel 30 minutes just to go buy a paper, So yeah, so social media is one, YouTube, but it has to be vernacular. I found that a lot of people really like vernacular YouTube channels, skits and all that. So I think even if these influencers, local influencers, get involved and speak about it, I think it can reach a lot of homes, a lot of ears, So it's a process, and we have to really have this kind of brainstorm session on what to do and what not to do to help farmers access this knowledge, to help them reach an understanding about what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. So I think we had a very great session, and it was very productive, sort of, even if are no way have gone to the field or are really an expert on this, but then to even start take the initiative to really discuss about this and start talking about this and also involving more people to talk about this, it's very important. So I think that way, and to all the people present here today, I would really want to thank you. So also, on next Sunday also, we'll be organizing the same thing. So I hope everyone also do present. And I really, really appreciate you for, extending your thoughts and ideas and knowledge about how to what really is, oil palm plantations and how to, really preserve and, protect our own indigenous rights and all that. So I think if there is no more questions, we can end the session. If anyone wants to ask any questions in the last question, you are welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity. I know I am no way of an expert as the previous speakers or other speakers, but I'm glad that I got to share my perspective of it from an anthropological point of view and from local person, a layman point of view as well. And as a scholar, I want to reach out to other scholars as well to speak up on this from your perspective, from your field's perspective. Yes, so I thank you, Mingsel Foundation and My Young Unity, and also the meme page.
Decolonial
Yes, Decolonial Indigenous Memes. Yes, for reaching out.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think we can wind up here. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Everyone, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Ba't si kanya kakadano? Ay, ito eh.